This channel forms an aura of success, prosperity, and abundance. Here, abundance and prosperity are built internally. When the aura changes, the world responds favorably, and everything improves, flourishes, and expands. Most people believe that success begins when something happens on the outside. One result, an acknowledgement, a visible gain. This belief seems logical. And it is precisely this that keeps the success unstable, because success doesn't begin with the result. It starts like sensation. That's the law. Before any achievement exists in the world, it already exists in the body. Before any prosperity becomes visible, it has already been felt or rejected internally. Before any progress can be consolidated, the nervous system has already decided whether it is safe or not. Nothing gets there first. It all starts from within, and it begins as a feeling. Not as an intense emotion, not like euphoria, but as a silent state of coherence. The most common mistake is believing that the feeling comes after the result. First you conquer, then you feel secure. First you win, then you calm down. It never worked that way. When someone lives waiting for the world to validate their inner state, this state never becomes permanent. Because the world responds to the state that already exists. Not what you expect to feel afterward. This is inevitable. Lasting success is born when the body learns to feel stability, before of the test. When the mind learns to maintain calm, before confirmation. When identity is organized before of the applause. This organization is not mental, it's sensory. You can tell when someone still can't sustain their success. Even if he speaks eloquently, even if it has occasional results. There is tension, there is a rush, there is surveillance. And the opposite also exists. People who don't seem to run. They don't seem to be fighting. They don't seem to prove anything. But everything around them falls into place. The difference isn't in what they do. It is not that they feel it's normal. Success begins as a feeling because the body needs to recognize it as familiar territory. What is unknown cannot be sustained. What is unfamiliar is rejected. The nervous system does not protect dreams, protects standards. If the internal standard still associates success with risk, exposure, or loss, the body goes on alert when something grows. And anything that goes on alert doesn't stay that way. This always happens. This is not conscious sabotage, it's self-preservation. Most people don't fail because of a lack of ability. It fails because the body doesn't recognize success as a safe place. Then success appears, but it doesn't stay that way. Or enough, but it generates anxiety, or it grows. But it triggers a fear of losing. These reactions seem minor, but they are decisive, because the world reads sensations. No speeches. You can say that you are ready. But if the body contracts when something goes right, the world's response is contraction. This is not punishment. It's mirroring. An aura of success is built when an inner feeling of stability arises before of the result. When the body learns to remain calm in the face of expansion. When the mind doesn't engage in negotiation every time something grows. This learning doesn't happen through persuasion. It happens through repetition of states. Every time something good happens and you don't rush it, something else settles in. Every time something becomes established and you don't become vigilant, it gets worse. Every time you sustain inner silence instead of excitement, something matures. This is invisible construction. Most people believe that success requires intensity. But intensity is unstable. She comes and goes. A stable feeling creates permanence. Success that becomes a permanent state is not exciting. It is normal, and that scares a lot of people. Because normalcy doesn't feel like victory. It doesn't seem like an achievement. It doesn't seem extraordinary. But that's exactly what sustains it. When something becomes normal internally, it ceases to be threatening. When it ceases to be threatening, the body relaxes. When the body relaxes, the aura stabilizes. And the world responds. This answer is not dramatic. It is continuous. Lasting success doesn't come with fireworks. He settles in quietly. You start to realize that you no longer need to prepare yourself emotionally to deal with good things. That doesn't need explaining, that you don't need to defend yourself. This lack of defense is power. Constant defensiveness indicates internal insecurity. Insecurity breaks continuity. An aura of success is born when you don't react emotionally to your own growth. When growth ceases to be an event and becomes an environment. Internal environment precedes external environment. That's the law. While you still feel that success is something distant, he will remain distant. While you may perceive prosperity as the exception, she will continue to be the exception. While you feel abundance as something that can end at any moment, the world confirms this feeling. Because the world responds to what you feel is true. To feel is not the same as to desire. It's about acknowledging. Success begins as a feeling when you start to feel calm where there was previously tension. When you start to feel safe where before you were just wary. When you start to feel a sense of permanence where before there was a fear of losing. These changes are quiet. They sit down. And settlement is what creates a state. A state does not need to be maintained with effort. He keeps to himself. Most people spend their lives trying to maintain results. This is exhausting. Those who build a state don't need to maintain anything. The state stands by the results. This is the point that changes everything. When success hasn't yet become an internal sensation, every step forward requires energy. Every step consumes energy. Every conquest carries weight. When success becomes a state of affairs, the same advancements never get old. They flow. Flow doesn't come from ease. It comes from consistency. Coherence is when thought, emotion, and action move together. No conflict without internal dispute. Internal conflict is the greatest enemy of lasting prosperity. To think of something, to feel another, to act in a third way. This fragmentation drains vital energy. Drained energy cannot sustain anything great. When you begin to feel that success is something that is part of who you are, not as something that needs to be earned every day, something is being organized. This organization is changing its stance. Your pace. Your presence. You no longer need to rush to prove your worth. You no longer need to react to everything. No need to explain anymore. Excessive explanation is a sign of internal instability. Those who are stable don't explain it. It remains. The feeling of lasting success is silent. It doesn't need to be announced. She doesn't ask for validation. She just this. And the world respects that. Have you ever noticed when someone enters a room and nothing changes externally, but everything changes internally? People are listening more. Conflicts are decreasing. Opportunities arise. This doesn't come from speeches. It comes from the feeling that person carries. Feelings are transmissible. The human body reads emotional signals with precision, long before words existed. An aura of success begins when you start to feel stable, even without external guarantees. When the future ceases to be an emotional threat. When the present becomes enough. Sufficiency is not complacency. It's the basics. Without a foundation, there is no building. Most people try to build success on top of anxiety. About being in a hurry. About the fear of being left behind. These arguments are not valid. Anything built on stress cracks. Success as a feeling is born when you slow down from within. Even if it continues to advance from the outside. Moving forward without rushing is a sign of maturity. Haste indicates doubt. Doubt breaks trust. Trust is the foundation of prosperity. The world doesn't trust those who don't trust themselves. And this confidence is not mental, it's physical. You gain confidence when you take a deep breath. When it doesn't contract, when it doesn't go on alert. This bodily state creates a clear signal, and clear signals receive clear responses. Most people send mixed signals. It wants to grow, but it's afraid. It wants to move forward, but it retreats. He wants to prosper, but he's wary. The world responds with ambiguity. When the internal signal becomes clear, the answers align. This alignment doesn't depend on luck, it depends on the state. A permanent state is built when you repeat the same feeling in different situations. Remain calm in the face of progress. Presence in the face of pressure. Stability in the face of change. These repetitions train the nervous system. The system learns, I'll stay, I support it, I don't collapse. When the system learns, the identity changes. Identity is not what you claim it to be. It's what you sustain effortlessly. Supporting oneself effortlessly is a sign of integration. Integration creates a strong aura. A strong aura does not react. She is an influencer. Influencing is not the same as controlling. It's about stabilizing the surrounding field. People feel safe. Opportunities remain. Flows become organized. All this because success is no longer a pursuit. And it became a common sensation. Habitual doesn't mean banal. It's incorporated. What is incorporated is not lost. You don't lose something that's part of you. Most people fail because they still experience success as something external. Something that can go away. Something that needs to be protected. Excessive protection indicates fear. Fear drives people away. When success becomes an internal sensation, there is nothing to protect. He simply is. And the world adjusts to that. This adjustment is not immediate, but it's constant. Consistency beats intensity. Success as a permanent state does not depend on major events. It is built in the small moments. It depends on how you react to a compliment, in the way you receive recognition. It depends on how you handle simple gains. If you minimize, if you suspect, if you contract, the body learns scarcity. If you receive it calmly, without euphoria, without fear, the body learns abundance. Abundance is not excess. It is tranquility in the face of enough. When enough is peaceful, more follows without conflict. Internal conflict repels. Internal consistency is attractive. That's the law. An aura of success is built when you don't react to your own worth. When value ceases to be something that needs to be proven. When recognition doesn't change your state. Constant changes in state indicate fragility. Fragility is not enough to sustain a product. Emotional stability is the true luxury. It allows everything to grow without breaking you inside. May everything progress without throwing you off balance. This axis is not rigid. It is flexible and firm. Flexible enough to absorb changes. Steady enough not to get lost. This balance creates a rare field. And the world recognizes its rarity. Rarity doesn't scream. She stands out for her silence. Lasting success doesn't need defending. It doesn't need to be displayed. It doesn't need explaining. He just keeps going. Continuing is more powerful than starting. Many people start. Few remain. Continuing requires a trained inner state. Trained through repetition of correct sensations, calm, presence, silent trust. These feelings are not generated by positive thinking. They are generated by consistent internal decisions. Deciding not to react, decide not to rush. Deciding not to contract it. Each of these decisions shapes the state. The state shapes the aura. The aura shapes the world's responses. This chain never fails. When you start to feel success as something that is already here, even before the test, something changes. Not as an illusion, but as a basis. A solid emotional foundation allows for long-term building. Without a foundation, everything becomes a peak. Peaks are tiring. States support. Perhaps now you will notice a different feeling. Less urgent. More settlement. Less need to rush. This is not accommodation. It's integration. Integration is when you stop fighting against yourself. And when you stop fighting, life ceases to resist. That's the law. You don't need to convince anyone of that. The body recognizes it. Success begins as a feeling. It always started that way. And when that feeling becomes stable, success ceases to be an event. It becomes a state. And states, when incorporated, they won't leave. By the time you finish here, something within you has already reorganized itself, not as an idea, but as a presence. You don't need to run. You don't need to prove it. You support it. And when you hold on, the world remains. That's the law. This is inevitable. This always works.